Okay. All right. Um, it's Kathy Vaccari giving her monthly What's Up talk about what you can see up in the night sky for the month. And this month is the month of June 2020. So, Kathy, whenever you're ready, please go ahead and start talking or presenting the music.
Didn't know what time it was, the lights were low. Oh, oh, I leaned back on my radio. Oh, oh, some cat was laying down some rock and roll that I slowly said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade. Came back like a slow voice on a wave of fade. That weren't no DJ, that was hazy cosmic jive. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children use it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Someone, so I clicked on you. Oh, oh, hey, that's far out. So you heard him too. Oh, oh, switch on the TV. We may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. Don't tell your papa, or he'll get us locked up in time. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Starman waiting in the sky.
Kathy, do you need some assistance here for talking? Kathy, can you hear me? Everyone, it could be that her internet is giving her some issues. Let me see what I can find out.
Okay, can you hear me? Mary?
I can hear you, Kathy, yes.
Okay, I am sorry. A lot of things went a little zooey. I think we're back. I'm going to share my screen again. And I apologize, folks. Okay, here we are. Apologies again. Um, it's just to get the sound right. I have to do a whole lot of things before I get back on the cell phone. All right, next slide. We've got some Neptune, which is really nice in that if it's near something that it's recognizable to us. By the way, here on the 13th, it's above the moon and it's just above Mars. Again, I'm not sure what the capabilities are with binoculars, but I'm sure going to try. Here's another one with Neptune, again, around that same time, but it's another Earth sky graphic. All right, and Mars isn't going to be in opposition till October, so we're just going to have to enjoy that in the pre-dawn. Venus is back in the morning sky. As most of you know, it's either in the evening, right after sunset, sight, or very early in the morning. So there you go. This one gives you sort of mid-June, and this is at the end. All right. Summer solstice. Again, it's a lot of us know. The solstice words are kept for when we're really tilted toward or against the sun, meaning winter or summer. The equinox whole thing that suggests equal is when it's mild, equally hot and cold, not leaning towards or against the sun. So that's your spring and fall. That's the way I remember it. And as you know, it's not so much it's really the way the sun's rays hit us, because as we'll mention in July, we're actually farther away from the sun, and closer to the sun in January, because our orbit goes around, but it's not a perfect circle. And again, the main cause of heat or cold is us being tilted or tilted away. You will find 5:44 p.m. on a lot of sources. I've gone through about 6, and I decided on 5:43 p.m. So there you go. This is our summer sky. Gorgeous. As you know, I like to indicate a graphic like this, which gives you star size. star color, which is real, and then the large dots are the ones that we can see in our um, smoggy and or light polluted area of the country. Down here, it's showing you on the map where our planets are, all right? And it will take till about 1 or 2 a.m. for you to really see it at this point, higher above the trees. But this is Jupiter just at the edge of Sagittarius. And actually, the next constellation is the one that holds Saturn. I believe that's Capricorn. Okay. This is gorgeous view, the whole area of Scorpius with its beautiful star Antares. We'll deal with that next month because I want to get up to the summer triangle, which is approaching here. And these are the major stars here, here, and here, which we'll talk about, are the first things you're going to see when it gets dark, before these guys get in the middle of the sky. That will obviously be way down south because planets like these two always appear in the ecliptic arc, which has all the zodiac constellations, and it's very low. See how low it's getting in the summer. So you really have to try to look for these things. All right, before we get to the winter triangle, here is Hercules, which a lot of people love to look at, especially in binoculars. Here is the shape. It represents, of course, the strong Hercules. This is him standing up, but the constellation actually, like a lot of constellations, the figure that they represent is actually upside down, and that's just for fun. And you've got this wonderful thing here, M13, for Charles Messier, who gave us all those numbers. And it's a marvelous cluster, just about the best cluster you have in the northern hemisphere. And two of our astrophotographer members, Tolga and Helder, have taken these pictures. Absolutely gorgeous, like a diamond pin look. And people, of course, are trying to resolve as many stars as they can. One thing I didn't know for a long time, first of all, it's a globular cluster, tend to be older stars, very dense. There's some open clusters such as the Pleiades that a lot of you know about. The cool thing about this is some of these stars are so old, I mean, going down to 13 billion years old, which is going back to the Big Bang or whatever started this. It's so dense that these stars are colliding still and creating new stars. As you know, the universe is a very busy place. Stars living, dying, going nova, etc. So apparently some of these new stars are blue stragglers, and that is a concept I've looked at once or twice. If it helps anybody to go Google after the talk, which I will do, you can look them up. The other thing I didn't know is that, well, we know the Voyager spacecraft, and both of them actually are beyond the solar system heading into interstellar space. And we all know about the gold record that is carrying information about our planet. In 74, there was radio message sent from the Arecibo radio telescopes And it carried information on DNA, atomic numbers, the Earth position, why the Kardashians don't matter. So apparently, it is trying to catch in its path some of the stars of the Hercules cluster, and hopefully we'll might get some answer. But that was a really neat factoid for this week for me. And of course, I got to bring you back to the Onion Press because they love the whole Voyager idea. And their new headline, so maybe the folks in the Hercules cluster will be a little more sober. Okay, now we're going to deal with these wonderful, bright, it's a great set of constellations, some of my favorite. You will also notice that for the most part, they are on what you find in maps, you know, as the shady part, which is the Milky Way, the part of the Milky Way that we can see looking through our atmosphere. Now, the summer triangle, as I mentioned, Cygnus the Swan, with its largest star Deneb, and then Lyra or Lyra with its major star Vega, and Altair in the star in the Aquila constellation. Just gorgeous. Lyra or Lyra indicates in its mythological indications a lyre. Sometimes it's an eagle or a vulture holding a lyre. And this is the shape of the constellation. It's sort of like, well, here should be the lyre. Very interesting. What do you call it? Parallelogram, I think, is that, yeah. Vega is one of the brightest stars in the sky. It does, and I will talk about this later, have another Messier object, which is totally cool. One of the best things to do with this constellation with binoculars or a telescope is to look at Vega and look off to the left. And actually, you will see tiny two dots, which is cool. But you could see that in binoculars. The fascinating thing about this Epsilon Lyrae is that each of those two stars are two stars. And again, a wonderful thing to Google is the distance between these and the distance between the two stars. As you all probably know, the universe is an enormous space, and the distances between things are truly astronomical. The Ring Nebula, that is that M57 that we mentioned here. And this is actually, here's another picture here too, in black and white and color. One of our members, Hank Adams, he passed away several years ago, but he must have been about 80 when he did this in his backyard observatory. He was one of our first astrophotographers and a really neat man. I wanted to show his work. Here's the Hubble, which is a little better. The cool thing about this is called a planetary nebula. And all it is after a star reaches the end of its life and it starts to swell, that's what it looks like. The edges are kind of coming off. Very much like what's going to happen with our sun. Life cycle, and we don't have a huge sun. The mass is not that as big as others. So that particular size of a star, here it is, maybe around 5 billion years old. This is us here. We need a few more billions of years, So gradual warming becomes a red giant, at which point we have to ask SpaceX to get us somewhere else. And then the layers come off and you have this little dot in the middle, and then it will ultimately become a white dwarf. So this is fascinating in that it is part of the life cycle of a star. And the cool thing about Hank's picture here is that it does kind of look like a little smoke ring, and that is what you will see in a telescope. It's just really a great sight. The other cool thing about Vega, as I love to mention, is that that is the star uh, that I guess the planet around Vega, or maybe the star itself, was the one that was sending the information and the pulses to Earth in the movie Contact. The other cool thing is our northern star in the Little Dipper is not very bright at all. A lot of people think that, you know, it's got to be the brightest star in the sky, and of course we all know that's not right. But every 26,000 years, the Earth, which rotates and is on its tilt, and it goes around the sun, but it also wobbles a bit as it does this. So this is our North Star. So in about 13,000 years, we will be looking at Vega as the North Star, and it would just be nice to have a really bright star in the sky to guide us. Now we're going back to this part of the, see, in the sky chart, don't be afraid of them. Just find one section, and then the next, if you're a beginner, the next day or week, try to find it again, and then try to move on to the one next to it. So here is what we would be looking at if we were doing that, and that is the Swan Cygnus. Here we go, and this is the head, the tail, the wings. What is really cool, and this is, it is easy to find. Sometimes when you see something, it's big stars with a background of fairly bright stuff, it's hard to see, but these are still big enough to see. Down here is Albireo, which for years, right after I joined, everybody was all talking about getting Albireo in the telescope, and I didn't think, it wasn't a planet, so I didn't think it was going to be very interesting. Well, it's actually two stars, and it's gorgeous in that one is gold and one is slightly green, and you can see those colors with the sensitive telescope. The other thing is, in this general area here, which is kind of, you know, if you look to your west as you're looking up in the sky, this is the west part. Right around here, you will find another cluster that is very popular, Broca's cluster, and it's, as you can see, different colors, and it's an upside down coat hanger. It's also called a coat hanger. Haha. Anyway, that's two of the reasons why it's a great constellation. Now going back to the last one, Altair is the big star, and Aquila is the constellation, which people have never heard of, right? Unless you're really into astronomy. And there is the shape, and it is often viewed as a eagle. And Altair is from the Arabic, the flying eagle. As I mentioned, the Altair as the biggest, here it is up here, whoops, sorry. No, wait, where's Altair? Haha, I should make this bigger. I'm sorry, guys. I will do better next time. It is best known for people who do their research as the star that had a planet going around it that was the focus of Forbidden Planet, that marvelous grade B movie with some pretty cool people, actually, and the gorgeous Leslie Nielsen before he just did comedy. And of course, introduced Robbie the Robot, a great cinematic feat. All right, we want to lastly pay um, homage to the moon. We've got this, which is a January 2nd astrophotograph taken by Cliff. And when you can see Cliff at the end, you will see that he has his webcam showing him against a June 1st astrophotograph. But I wanted to get his latest. So that is absolutely gorgeous. Being where we are in June, um, tomorrow's the anniversary of D-Day. It was the 75th last year, but the moon phase did figure in the invasion, and it was carefully timed. A lot of people felt they should do most of what they wanted to do under darkness. As you know, the beaches were littered with junk that was supposed to pierce their boats and injure the soldiers. And they did need a low tide at some point to be able to see them and get rid of them. So what ended up happening, and then they wanted rising water so that they could have something to get their crafts in and out of. So actually, there's an astronomer down in Texas who's revisiting this, and he mentions they did land at low tide, and then had less time than they thought to get rid of all this stuff. So they had to move double, triple, quadruple time. And there's a lot of myth about the late rising moon. We want to get in and then they'll see us in the moonlight. But in fact, it actually rose before sunset on June 5th, which would be today, and remained in the sky all day long. And they just worked with it. All the major players there were saying, no, it's fine. We would like moonlight to illuminate everything. So there's just a little moon history lesson. And I wish you all stay well and continue enjoying this wonderful hobby. My friend Patricia told me about the dino, so I put her in there. And Elaine Scala reminded me after I chose the music Starman that about the Tesla car with Starman going up previously. So and Cliff and Helder and Tolga, of course, helped a lot with the astrophotography pictures, and Gordon Bond started me on this wonderful career. Ray taught me PowerPoint. Alan Bonney are always just wonderful themselves, and Mary runs this thing and does a very good job. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. If anybody has questions for Kathy, do you want to write them in the chat? I mean, in the Q&A box at the bottom there. And Anne Vaccari has a chat saying that there's a character named Altair from a video game called Assassin's Creed. They mentioned that it translates to the Flying Eagle.
Thank you, Annie.
All right. If there's no particular questions, let's see. I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to open this up for everybody to